All right, we are live. We are in. We are ready to talk soccer. And let me mute my own channel so it's not that loud. There we go. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome to Soccer and Football Fanatics' favorite show here on YouTube, Edging a Win, here on April 8th. It's a beautiful morning in Cleveland, Ohio. We have 4 more best bets for you this morning. But before we get into our best bets, we have to introduce the face of our program. Please welcome in, knower of all things soccer, volunteer, deputy fire chief, and super fan of a team no one's heard of, Mr. Ian Allen from Ian OUFC right here on YouTube. Ian, how is your weather over there in dreary, I think it's Sheffield?
Yes, beautiful, beautiful Easter weekend we're having over here. Very welcome blue sky. It doesn't happen very often, so we have to appreciate them. But I know what you're doing, Matt from Grandstand Betters, calling me the face of the channel, putting all the pressure on me, no accountability on you for having these terrible weekends like we had last weekend. And look, I tell you what, I'm so confused. Yesterday felt like a Saturday for me because we had a full EFL program. So all day yesterday I thought it was Saturday. Today I keep thinking it's Sunday. What day is it, Matt? Can you please confirm what day it is?
It is Saturday. There were a ton of great football matches on yesterday, but we have some big matches today, which we'll get into. And we have a fun show lined up for everybody here. And make sure you stick around to the end, where Ian gives his £1 parlay, which this week are astronomical odds. So that is coming up here at the end. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and go check out our social media pages listed there on the screen. Ian, again, has his own YouTube channel, Ian OUFC on YouTube. So go check that out, subscribe to his channel, and hey, in the chat, I want to know your best bets today. Are you betting any soccer matches? Let us know. There's a ticker on the screen that gives you all of probably the prominent matches for the weekend. If you're looking at it and you see something that pops up that maybe we haven't covered, hey, let us know in the chat and give us a shout out in the chat if you're here watching with us. Look forward to getting some winners today and bouncing back this weekend. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ian with his top 3 best bets for the weekend. And Ian, I know we're starting off in the Premier League, and I believe it's in about 57 minutes here at 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. Eastern here on the East Coast.
You're spot on, Matt. Very precise with your timings. Yeah, we're looking at Tottenham Hotspur versus Brighton Hove Albion for the first bet of the weekend. So yeah, that's happening in just under an hour's time. We're going for over 2.5 goals in this one. Big battle between two sides going for Champions League places. Spurs playing their first home game since the departure of Antonio Conte. They couldn't get the job done against Everton late. Wonder strike by Everton in that one, rescuing a point. So they are looking for a reaction. They're looking for a big performance. And that Tottenham Stadium, when the fans turn out and they can make that quite a raucous atmosphere. And there has been many times where they've spurred the Spurs on. So they'll be hoping that they can do that again. But don't underestimate this Brighton side. They are having an amazing season. And it's a very interesting contrast of styles. You've got a Brighton side that like to keep possession, like very patient on the ball and like to work their way through the thirds, whereas you've got a Tottenham side that are going to be like, a bit like a coiled spring trying to pounce on the counter-attack with the likes of Son and Kane. Arsenal winning the league's amazing, but if Brighton finish in the top 4, that is arguably as big a shock as Arsenal winning the league, because nobody would have been given them an absolute chance. And they have had a great year. They've pulled many a surprise against many of a top side. And I think this one's going to be a very entertaining game. We use this phrase, and I hate it, like a basketball match. But I think this is going to be a very entertaining game, very enjoyable. Probably won't be like 122 plays 125. But I think it's going to be over 2.5 goals. I think it will be a Spurs edging a home win.
Yeah, we don't use the term basketball match over here, so I'm not sure where you got that from.
I hate it. They use it all the time over here. They refer to it when the game's fast-paced and end-to-end. They always say, it's like a basketball game. And I hate it because it's nothing like a basketball game.
Yeah, I get what they mean, though. A kind of a back and forth kind of thing. Listen, I actually find the Spurs very boring to talk about, especially, as a Chelsea fan, and I won't even talk about Chelsea this week. But I want to ask you about Brighton here. Big improvement for the Seagulls this season. What's the difference between this side and then the side that we saw under Graham Potter?
Yeah, almost this Brighton side's been threatening to emerge for a few seasons. Graham Potter regardless of what he did at Chelsea, obviously being sacked recently, did a wonderful job with Brighton, built a very solid core, built a very solid team, a team that consistently played very good football. They just never really seemed to have that cutting edge and that end product. And this season, they've certainly have that. Scored a lot more goals than they have done in recent games as well. And I think that a lot of credit has to go down to Brighton for picking the right manager. Whereas we go back to Chelsea and we can go to Tottenham, Graham Potter just never felt like the right fit for Chelsea. And Antonio Conte never felt like a Spurs manager. But Roberto De Zerbi is almost like a perfect fit for Brighton. He's a guy that's always been built, always has success playing possession football. Did it with Sassuolo in Italy, did it with Shakhtar Donetsk. So he's almost just come in. He doesn't really need to make too many changes, just impart his philosophy, which is just improved on what Graham Potter has had. And I think that finally we are seeing what we thought Brighton might be for the last few seasons, which is a side that play great football and are going to be challenging near the top end of the league. I don't think they're going to ever be a side that is going to go to the next level, but this level where they're around about Europa League, Europa Conference League is a really, really good achievement for a club of that size.
Yeah, they've been great, and now that they don't have Graham Potter, it looks like they might have some Harry Potter magic going on this season. See what I did there? Yeah, that happens. I'm live stream.
If anybody's still watching, it gets better after this, we promise.
They all turned off. All right, listen, talking about a basketball match in sorts, let's look at bet number 2 in a league that is kind of a higher scoring league in general, and we move to the Bundesliga. What do you like in this league this Saturday?
Yes, so second bet of the day. This one is to 12:30 my time. 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, 5:30 p.m. my time. It's Hertha Berlin versus RB Leipzig in the Bundesliga. Bullen Leipzig, and we're going for over goals again, over 2.5 goals.
Yeah. There we go. Hertha. Hertha,
how dare
right?
You cut me off?
Sorry. Huh? It's Hertha, right?
Hertha Berlin versus Bullen Leipzig. Right. Look, two clubs, opposite ends of the table. You've got Leipzig that are trying to desperately get back into Champions League positions. Hertha Berlin fighting for their lives down the bottom. Leipzig really still trying to recover from that mauling that they took in the Champions League by Manchester City, losing by 7-0. But Hertha Berlin are a weird side. They've had this tag in Germany for a number of years where they've been like, they talked about them being this sleeping giant and they should be a bigger club than they are, but they find themselves in a relegation battle again. But both of these sides over the last few games, averaging over 3 goals a game. There's usually over 3 goals when the two sides meet each other. One injury problem for Leipzig is Nkunku being out. He's their top scorer, which is a blow, but ex-Chelsea guy Tino Werner has picked up the slack and started scoring goals for them. Hertha's defense is pretty lousy as well, so I would expect Leipzig to create tons of chances in this one. But I'm going for over 2.5 goals because I think that both sides are going to score.
Yeah, that's usually a good bet in most German matches there in the Bundesliga, but it is kind of an exciting weekend in the Bundesliga. Kind of feels a little similar to maybe the college football playoff here. We have second versus third as Dortmund takes on Union Berlin, and we have fourth versus first as Friedberg takes on Bayern Munich. How do you see maybe those playing out? If it was a college football playoff, who would be moving on to the championship game?
It's very hard. It's always difficult to back against Bayern Munich, isn't it? They are the giants. Like Thomas Tuchel's come in charge now. First game was Dortmund last weekend. Dortmund do what they always do when they play up against Bayern. They seem to to use a very crass term on your channel, Matt, shit the bed. Absolute horror show. Goalkeeper doing a complete air shot from Dortmund, allowing Bayern to get in and get an early goal in that one. Bayern running in bid wingers, but Freiburg did beat Bayern Munich in the cup in the week and knock them out. So Freiburg will be thinking that it can be lightning can strike twice once again and beat Bayern Munich, but smart money would probably be on Bayern in that one. Toss of a coin, really. Dortmund and Union Berlin. Union Berlin, a very difficult side to play against. Don't make any game easy, and Dortmund are a side who are reeling a little bit. So I would still probably back the two bigger clubs in Dortmund and Bayern, but certainly in the Dortmund Union Berlin game, that could be a shock.
Yeah. Looking forward to this weekend in the Bundesliga. I love watching it. That is exactly, I would call that more of a hockey match. They do have a lot of great offense in that league. Now, one league that doesn't extremely get a lot of goals in, but a few and select games here and there is going to be the Ligue 1. And there's a good one, I think, today in that one. What do you got?
Well, if the Bundesliga is like a hockey, then what are we saying that League One is? Ligue 1. Are we saying
bocce ball?
NASCAR?
Yeah, NASCAR. There you go.
Grandstand Betters does have some good NASCAR picks, so subscribe to their Patreon for more. But we are looking at Nantes versus Monaco in the game tomorrow. It's 4:05 p.m. UK time, so that's 11:05 Eastern Standard Time. Going for goals again. Yeah, you're right. There sometimes can be a lot of low-scoring games in Ligue 1, but this one we think is going to be goals, over 2.5 goals. Again, we've got sides opposite ends of the table, but both sides have really poor defensive records this season, so it does seem like goals are going to be inevitable. Monaco still trying to push to get into the Champions League places. There's only 3 places available in France, not 4 like the other bigger leagues in Europe. So I think they're currently in 4th place at the moment. And but they are also keeping one eye on this PSG implosion and thinking that if they can have a good end to the season, that maybe they might try and make a late surge for the title. But I wouldn't expect it. Going on the stats, the last 8 games for Monaco, they average 3.25 goals a game, and Nantes are a shade just under 3, 2.88. So that tells me that there's going to be goals. PSG are the only side that have scored more than Monaco so far in the year, and with 2 strikers in red-hot form like Ben Yedder and Embolo, they've got 29 between them. You will think that Monaco should be able to score a few goals past this Nantes side, who do have a pretty ropey defensive record. Nantes as well, fighting for their lives down the bottom. They won't be able to just sit back and defend. They have to go and try and score some goals to give it a go, because they can't rely on their defense. But I do see Monaco winning this one quite comfortably, maybe 3-1 or 4-1.
Yeah, and you touched on PSG and how they've kind of stumbled lately. In fact, they've lost their last 2 games, and it would kind of be funny if they did lose this lead and end up not being able to take the title here in Ligue 1. 2 defeats now, as I mentioned. They're 3 points clear of Lens, but I will say they do have a game in hand. Is any chance that this could happen here with not too many games left on the season?
It would still be unlikely, isn't it? It's a blip. It's always funny when they kind of do mess up PSG because of how much more money they have than all the other sides probably put together in that league. So they've got a tricky game today away at Nice. That's not going to be an easy one for them. A lot of ex-Premier League guys in that Nice lineup. Won't be easy. But looking at their run-in, the only really tough game you would say is they've got to play Lens, who are in 2nd place. Other than that, a lot of the sides they play are towards the middle or towards the bottom. So it would still be a massive balls up by PSG if they mess it up from here. But I do agree with you. It would be amazingly funny.
It sure would. It sure would. There's a lot of great, those are great 3 bets there. I got them all locked in. But there's a ton of other games around all of the soccer world this weekend, and I know you want to pinpoint a couple here, but I assume we have to start with a big one, at least on paper, maybe not in terms of standings, but at least on paper, Liverpool-Arsenal in the Premier League, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest standout game of the weekend. Two massive sides, always a huge game when these two play. Usually it's Liverpool. In the last few years, it's been Liverpool the side at the top, and Arsenal kind of the side floundering a little bit. But this time it's role reversal, and Arsenal go in the side in form and flying high at the top of the league. Can they keep that pressure? Can they keep going when the pressure really ramps up on them? Man City travel to Southampton today. You would expect Man City to win that game, to kind of put pressure on Arsenal to get something from that one. Liverpool, such a better side at home than when they play away from Anfield. So do not think that one's going to be a formality in it by any way, shape, or form. We've seen Liverpool produce big performances at home, like when they just beat Manchester United 7-0. So that one should be really good. Other than that, Brentford versus Newcastle should be a really good game as well. Two sides playing some great football at the moment. Brentford always entertaining to watch. Newcastle just coming off the back of a really...
Ian just dropped out, which is that's how much he hates Newcastle. He absolutely hates Newcastle that much. While we wait for Ian to get back, let me talk about the MLS a little bit. We'll get back to some world news as we're going around the league. But Ian, that's how much Ian just absolutely he hates. Toffees. He hates it so much. He just can't stand Newcastle. He doesn't wanna talk about it. I think he's back. Let me see if I can get him back up on the screen. Is he there? I think he is.
I'm here.
All right. What's up, buddy?
Sure
welcome back. Is that how much you
talking.
hate Newcastle?
I wasn't sure it was me on the screen or not, but no, look, Brentford, Newcastle, look, both sides playing great. Newcastle had a great win last weekend over Man United. They got back that up with a win over West Ham. They really need Champions League football if they want to kick on to the next level so they can attract some even better players in the summer. But Brentford have been a good side at home. Manchester United are applying the pressure. They're winning at the moment, so that's putting pressure on Newcastle and on Tottenham. Earlier for that game we talked about earlier on, Man United 2-0 up over Everton at the moment, just coming towards the end of that game. I think you need one more goal in that one, Matt, don't you?
I do, yeah.
And also just looking at other games, managerless clubs in action. Leicester taking on Bournemouth, big game down the bottom for both clubs, and Wolves versus managerless Chelsea. Moving on to Italy, Lazio versus Juventus, two sides in good form. Lazio obviously in second place, and Juve still trying to get back into those European places. Lost our bet last week on Juventus. They didn't play very well in their 1-0 win, so difficult to really know what Juve is going to turn up in that one. Atalanta Bologna, you would expect goals in that one, and two sides down the bottom battling for points. Sampdoria versus Cremonese is a huge game down the bottom there. Spain feels done and dusted, so I'll just say that Almeria versus Valencia is a huge game down the bottom with both sides level on points. So that's kind of going to be a big statement for anybody who can get a win in that one. And at the top, probably the big two out of Barca and Real. The most interesting game is probably Real Madrid versus Villarreal. Just quickly talk on before you go on to the MLS, France as well. Nice versus PSG, as I already talked about, and Lorient versus Marseille. Marseille will be desperate to try and keep up the pace and put pressure on PSG. But there is also Champions League this week as well. So make sure you do check out that first leg. I've got some bets in the ticker. The Champions League game should be flicking by. But it is the first leg of the quarterfinals. So got some good game. Bayern versus Man City being the pick of the games out of those four.
Yeah, ton of soccer going on this week and this weekend. So big. I'm actually looking forward to Liverpool and Arsenal. I think that should be a good one. Excited to watch that. I think that's tomorrow. So hey, a lot of good world soccer news. But hey, listen, us Americans, we consider our Premier League the MLS, and I'm pretty sure it's just like very narrow on how skill set is between the two leagues. But Ian, sad news. This past week, our team, St. Louis SC, lost their first match in franchise history, 1-0 to Minnesota. It was kind of an unfortunate way to drop our first game. They gave up a 78th minute penalty, which was the only shot on goal for Minnesota. So we go to 5-1 on the year, still first out in the Western Conference. But we have a massive game this weekend that I'm going to get to in just a bit of in a minute here. The couple other takeaways, though, from this past week 6 in the MLS, Cincinnati, LAFC, and Minnesota, they are the only teams yet to not lose a game. So keep an eye on those teams. If you're doing some future betting, maybe throw some pizza money on them. See, I like Cincinnati a lot. We'll talk about them in a second as well. The Seattle Sounders, I think those guys are going to be the best team in the league. No one is talking about them either. Their only loss was to the Eastern top seed Cincinnati, and they have only allowed 3 goals through 6 games. They are a defensive squad that can score there with Jordan Morris, so keep an eye on them. I think they are going to be the best team and win the Supporters' Shield at the end of the year. And finally, the last thing I took away from week number 6 in the MLS, Nashville games are hard to watch. In the 6 matches that these guys have played, there have only been a total of 8 goals combined from the 12 teams, and I think that I have them on my do not bet list for sure at the moment. It's a boring game to watch. It's all defense, and they're definitely not going to be bet by me for a while. But we move here on to week number 7 in the MLS. There's some intriguing matchups. Cincinnati, that I mentioned before, hosts Philadelphia, and Philadelphia was actually supposed to be a top-tier team in this league again this season, but now is 2-1-3 and faces Cincinnati, who is sitting in first place in the East. And finally, the other game that I think you need to look at this weekend is our St. Louis SC team and the Seattle Sounders. This is honestly, Ian, going to give us a great idea of how we actually stack up against the big boys. Honestly, though, I have no hope for this game tonight. I hope it's at least a good one, as I will be up until about 1 in the morning watching this. It doesn't start till 10:30 Eastern time. I'm pretty sure that is in the middle of your REM sleep, Ian, is it not?
It will be.
It
yes.
will. So, I'm looking forward to watching a ton of MLS today, which, by the way, I think like 10 games go off at 7:30 p.m. Kind of weird that there's no day games today. I'm not sure if that's because baseball started and they don't want to compete with the day games, but looking forward to watching that. But what you all been waiting for is my best bet here in the MLS today, and we have Sporting Kansas City, and they play Colorado. These two teams have combined through 6 games. This is crazy. To only score 4 goals. They've scored 2 goals each through 6 games. This is unreal how bad these offenses have been. So, you guys are spot on. You've guessed it. We're going over 2.5 goals. Now listen, hear me out. I know Ian's laughing internally and externally. And you know what makes a good team, Ian? Defense.
The tears are real, Matt. The tears are real.
I know they are. Listen, and I think you'd agree with this. You know what? Defense makes a good team. And you know what both of these teams lack? Defense. Okay? Both of these teams' offenses are going to be extremely excited here to play against a lower tier defense. And I see this game flying over the 2.5. And honestly, I think it's going to be an easy winner. Ian, I know you're saying no, probably internally, but to save face for me, you'll agree.
Of course, I'll agree. You strong-armed me into it. Look, I'm really excited by this St. Louis game because you talk a lot about it when you do NFL live streams, and you talk about how undefeated sides. There's that. When sides go on longer unbeaten runs, there's that kind of debate of how good they really are because they haven't faced any adversity in the season. How they're going to bounce back from defeat is a key attribute for a side that's going to be successful. So it's the first defeat for for St. Louis. So I want to see how they're going to respond against a good Seattle side.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they respond as well. Seattle has, been a dynasty here for the last decade, basically, in the MLS. I'd also like to see how Klaus plays. I think that was a difference in the game. Minnesota really shut Klaus down last game. He did not have probably his worst game of the season. Do the Sounders look at that tape and figure that's how they can easily beat St. Louis? Who knows? But if Klaus has a good game, I mean, maybe they stay in it. I would say a victory this week on the road in Seattle, if they could get a point, I mean, I would be happy with that.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's a
So,
good point.
hey, listen, those are our 4 best bets, but we're not done yet because Ian has conjured up his £1 parlay for this week, and it has some massive odds. So, Ian, take it away, man. What you got?
Things you can do with £1, or $1, if you're talking funny American money. Look, there's no EFL this week. Well, there is. They're just playing on. They played last night and they're playing on Easter Monday. So I've gone around the whole of Europe trying to find 4 good value teams, and it's a good one this weekend. 21-1. So some good prices if this one hits for your pound. In the Premier League, Leicester City, home to Bournemouth. Huge game for Leicester. They need to win. Bournemouth, not the greatest of side. I think the Foxes will get the job done in that one. Atalanta in Serie A versus Bologna. Atalanta, you would think at home, should be able to beat this Bologna side. Almira versus Valencia. We talked about this one being a huge game down the bottom in La Liga. Almira being the home side, they're actually not in too bad form, whereas Valencia's form has fallen off a cliff. So I think they could get that one. And also another 2 sides struggling down the bottom of the Bundesliga. We're going for VfL Bochum to beat Stuttgart in another game with 2 sides desperate for points down the bottom. It's again on form. Stuttgart have been useless in the last few weeks, and Bochum have been a little bit less than useless. So hopefully the little bit less than useless side will prevail.
Yeah, I hope Bochum doesn't botch it this week for us.
There we go.
I'll be here all week, folks.
There we go. Perfect.
So yeah, you're getting that at plus 2,100, I believe, which is fantastic. Great odds there. I will put $1 on it and put it up on my Twitter page right after this. I think I forgot to last time, but I definitely will do that today.
That was a smart decision.
It was. That last week's £1 parlay didn't work out too well, but that's why it's a £1 parlay.
Hey,
at the end of the day.
But you know what? The one team we laughed about last week was Crystal Palace, and they were the only side that bloody won.
They were, and of course, I should have known that when I said I've never backed Crystal Palace. But for that reason alone, when I back them, they lose. When I don't back them, they win. So. That's all our bets, but listen, we got 3 minutes before we need to hop off, and Ian, listen, before we sign off, do you want to update our viewership on your Oxford Yellows? If I'm correct, the tally is now 12 winless weeks in a row, and I mentioned last week for everybody to circle their calendar, April 25th, they could end up passing the Browns for most winless weeks in a row.
You are incorrect, sir.
I am.
It is 13 games without a win.
13
for Oxford United.
Well, I just don't know how to do math.
But weirdly, the fan base seems more together, more united, more behind the team than they have been probably at any time this season, because they're showing some fight, they're showing some spirit. Under this new manager, they do look like they have a bit of a backbone. 2 good back draws now. One away against Peterborough, yesterday away against Sheffield Wednesday. Coming back from a goal down to get that draw as well gives us hope that we can turn this around and still stay in League One. There's going to be a lot of nervy weekends ahead, but I am optimistic that Oxford United can put that to an end on Monday when they go away to Port Vale. If they don't and they lose, I probably will have to go and sit in a fetal position in a corner, rocking back and forth for a couple of days. But it's, what can you say? There's hope. You just have to put it. Hopefully, we can just get that win, Matt. We just need that win.
Yeah, there's a chance next Saturday when we're live here at 9 a.m. Eastern Time that you might be in an ecstatic mood. I mean, you could be flying over the moon, quite honestly. But I don't see that happening. I got Port Vale winning 6-0.
That'll be a good price. That'll be a good price.
It would. Now I feel like I should take it. All right. Well, as always, Ian, thank you for joining me. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. There's your 4 bets. I will put the parlay, the £1 parlay on my Twitter. Go out there, enjoy some soccer, and we will see you next Saturday, same time, same place. Hopefully, better results.